Hello everybody, welcome to GISE Pathshala Grade 9 Social Science History. Chapter is about Chapter 2 Russian Revolution, Socialism in Europe and Russian Revolution. See, now we have seen that the party was divided into Bolshevik and Menshevik. Lenin was not agree because what Lenin, we have seen that Lenin says, what Lenin was saying that the differentiation was that people were not, some are poor, some are rich. So what Lenin was saying that this could not be all part of the socialist movement. The party was divided over the strategy of organization. Lenin thought that a repressive society like Russia, the party should be disciplined and should control the number of the quality of its member. Others, Mensheviks thought that the party should be open to all. See, these two type of parties would be there. In one, the limited numbers were there, and in one, the open for all. As land was divided among the peasants periodically, which makes them natural socialists, and it was felt that peasants and not workers would be the main source of the revolution. But Lenin did not agree with this as he felt that the peasants were not in a one social group. Some are rich, some are poor. So, like that, the social groups were not one. Russia was an autocracy. Russia was an autocracy. Russia was an autocracy. Unlike other European rulers, even at the beginning of the 20th century, Shah was not subject to parliament. Liberals in Russia to end the state's affairs. See, the Shah was not subject to parliament. Rebels wanted to end the state of affairs. They worked towards demanding a constitution during the revolution of 2005. They work against the constitution, demanding for constitution because this type of monarchy, dictatorship, they don't want. So they work for demanding the constitution in 1905. Now see what happened in 1905. The year 1904 was particularly bad one for Russia worker. Prices of essential goods rose so quickly that real wages declined 20%. See, prices of some common goods were so high that the workers can't bear it. When four members of Assembly of Russian Workers, which had been founded in 1904, was dismissed at the Putilov Iron Works, there was a call for industrial action. Over the next few days, over 110,000 workers in St. Petersburg went to strike, demanding the reduction in working day to 8 hours and increased wages and improvement in working conditions. See why the workers went on strike, because they're demanding for the better condition, less timings and the increase in wages, because the price rose highly and the workers were not having proper things. Now, when the procession of workers led by Father Gapon led the procession of workers, reached the Winter Palace, it was attacked by the police and Cossacks. Over 100 workers were killed and about 300 wounded. See, the Father Gapon went and he led the things, but the 100 workers were killed and 300 wounded. The incident was known as Bloody Sunday. The incident was known as Bloody Sunday. During 1905 revision, Tsar allowed the creation of an elected constitution parliament, Duma. For a brief while during the revolution, there existed a large number of trade unions and factory committees made up of factory workers. After 1905, most of the committee and unions were unofficially, since they were declared illegal. See, people demanded constitutional assembly. Tsar allowed the creation of an elected consultative parliament, Duma. Tsar dismissed the first Duma in 75 days and announced the election of second Duma. Because Tsar didn't want such type of things. He wanted to become the dictator of monarchy only. He changed the voting laws and packed the third Duma was with the conservative politicians, rebels and revolutions were kept out. See, first, second, immediately within 3 months also he didn't want, and he didn't want any questioning of this authority and reducing his power, reduction of his power. And he was changing the laws, voting laws, and changing the time period, and like that he was doing for the Dumas. The First World War and Russian Empire. In Russia, the war was initially very popular, but later the support grew them. Anti-German sentiments ran high, and Russian armies lost badly in Germany and Austria. Russian army was lost badly in Germany and Austria during the World War time. Now the see in world regarding the World War we will see further in this chapter. So now in the February Revolution and Petrograd. Now what happened? In the winter 1970, Petrograd was grim. There was a food shortage in workers' quarters. See, the food shortage was there in the workers' quarters. The workers' quarters and factories were located on the right bank of the river Neva. On the left bank were the fashionable areas, means posh area and Winter Palace and official buildings, including the palace where Duma met. So on 22nd February, a lockout took place at factory workers. 50 other factories joined in the sympathy. Women also led participation in strikes. See, all went on strikes and women also joined participation in strike. On 22nd February, lockout took place at the factory on the right bank. The next day, workers and 50 factories called a strike sympathy. In many factories, women led the way to strike. This came to be called the International Women's Day. This came to be called as International Women's Day. Demonstrating worker factory crossed from the factory quarters to the center of the capital, the Nevsky Prospect. Government imposed a curfew as the quarters of the fashionable area and official building were surrounded by workers. On 24th and 25th, the government called out the cavalry and police to keep an eye on them. Now what happened on 25th February, the government suspended the Duma and politicians spoke against these measures. The people were out with force once again. On 27th, the police headquarters was ransacked. On 27th, the police headquarters were ransacked. Cavalry was called out again. However, it refused to fire on the demonstrators. The cavalry was refused to fire on the demonstrator. An officer was shot at the barracks of regiment, and 3 other regiments mutinied, voting to join the striking workers. Gathered from the Soviet Council, this was the Petrograd Soviet. In the same building as the Duma met, this was Petrograd Soviet. The next day, a delegation went to see Tsar. Military commanders advised him to abdicate. Abdicate means king or other person in power give up the position. Abdicate means king or other person who was in power ready to give up the position. He followed their advice and abdicated on 2nd March. Soviet leaders and Duma leaders formed a provisional government to run the country. Russia's further future would be decided by the Constituent Assembly elected on the basis of universal adult suffrage. See, the people involved were parliaments were workers, women, workers, and the military commanders. Now what happened? Petrograd had led the February Revolution that brought down the monarchy in February 1907. That broke down. Broke down means there was the fall of something. Move of something from the higher to the lower position. Move of something from higher to the lower position means the monarchy was now not there. Now what is the effect? Restriction on public meetings and association were removed. See, previously there was restriction on public meetings in association that was removed. Soviets were set up anywhere. See, previously they cannot make any association, but now Soviets were set up anywhere. In individual area, factory committees were formed which began questioning the way industrialists ran their factory. They can question them. See, in Dumanov questionary was there. Soldiers' committee were formed in the army. The provisional government saw its power declining, the Bolshevik influence grow. It decided to take stern measures against the spreading discontent. In April 1907, Bolshevik leader Vladimir Lenin returned to Russia from his exile. He and Bolshevik had opposed for the war since 1914. Now the resisted attempt by the workers to run factories and arrested leaders. Peasants and the socialist revolutionary leaders pressed a redistribution of land. Land committee were formed and peasants seized land between July and September 17. See now what happened, as the provisional government saw its power to reduce the Bolshevik influences grow, it decided to strain measures against the spreading discontent. It resisted an attempt by the run factories and began arresting leaders. Popular demonstrations suggested by the Bolshevik in July 1917 were repressed. Many Bolshevik leaders had to go into hiding or flee. After that, meanwhile, in the countryside, peasants and their socialist revolutionary leaders pressed for a redistribution of land, and land committees were formed to handle this. Encouraged by the socialist revolutionary, peasants seized the land between July and September 1917. See, Bolshevik were doing the things and they took the land and all the things. Thank you.